Passed in 2020, Ballot Measure 110 planned for a systems overhaul to decriminalize drug possession and provide drug treatment for Oregonians. The leading questions are, is this going to work, and what problems are we facing now?
So the first thing that Measure 110 does is to stop perpetuating harm, and that's already been done.
Morgan Godvin, Public Engagement Editor for JSTAR Daily, sits on the Oversight and Accountability Council for Oregon's Measure 110. Godvin is in recovery from addiction and familiar with the concerns from various stakeholders in the Measure 110 movement.
Next phase is healing, and that's going to be much more challenging.
In an effort to begin healing, the Oregon Health Authority contracted with Lines for Life to run a statewide hotline system. When people call in, they are given an intake screening to connect them with appropriate services. But very few calls are coming in. In fact, fewer than 100 since the program began.
My largest concern is that the people actually on the ground, people using drugs, aren't going to know. I wasn't online when I was addicted to heroin, so these people that need the services the most are also, paradoxically, the least likely to know what's available to them.
If they don't call, they can't be helped.
So that number was mostly given out to people on the bottom of their citation by a police officer, and they thought they were calling the police, and they thought that any treatment that they would be offered was coercive. Police officers are not trusted messengers for people who use drugs, but currently they are being tasked with being the trusted messenger for this new health system service, and obviously there's a disconnect.
Eventually, the Behavioral Health Resource Networks, or BERNs, will be responsible for making connections between people in crisis and support systems, from housing to medical. The rollout of services like the hotline and the pullback from police arrests have yet to demonstrate success. 1 year, however, is hardly enough time to redo a decades-long response to drug addiction. And further, COVID has complicated everything.
We're supposed to get the money out the door in March. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It'll be April or maybe May, and then several more months for organizations to actually hire and train their staff.
Godvin is referring to the massive undertaking of the Oversight and Accountability Council. With over 400 applications to evaluate, distribution of the grants is taking longer than expected. Meanwhile, overdose deaths in Oregon are spiking. A disturbing factor is fentanyl.
It's incredibly more potent and incredibly shorter acting. And so you have to use much more frequently, which is disruptive to life itself.
Godvin speculates that fentanyl, when used with meth, causes people to experience psychotic breakdowns, as well as death. Whole picture. Fewer people are being arrested on drug-related charges in Oregon, but drug-related deaths are much higher. Critics are quick to link the two. But unanticipated factors like COVID and fentanyl in the drug supply chain need to be considered. Lastly, it's important to note that Oregon's efforts aren't entirely new. The Portuguese began their decriminalization program in the early 2000s. It took 5 years to see results, but drug deaths in Portugal have remained significantly below EU levels since 2005.
So we will have limitations. We are not Portugal, but we can do our best within the confines of our circumstance. And that is much better than anything we've been doing before.
Supporters believe in the long view and request patience and time.
It's just been the awkward year, which was the anniversary of decriminalization. What happened to me and my friends is never happening to another Oregonian. That will never happen again. And so no matter what else happens, that's a win.
We don't know exactly how long it will take to see more signs of success. Research tells us that prison isn't the answer. But changing the public view of drug addiction from criminal to medical is a major step forward in Oregon.